Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Shoutouts to Andreas, Deacon, my boy Scott, Pedro, and everyone else that engages on my posts. It's Sarah. Keep it up, man. You'll get there someday. And everyone else, great memes.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah,
going on, people?
So, to all the fans of Xirtus, the Xirtus channel, Andreas is running a little late. I think he had to take a last-minute drive to the airport. So, until then, you guys get us, and hopefully he's going to be back before sometime soon. How are you guys doing, Vince, Jack, Andrew?
He's picking up like a Russian national or something like that.
What?
Another one? Jeez.
Better be a girl.
Wait, is it just a mail order bride?
No, I mean, Andreas is like
A
he always comes out with some crazy like plan, and half the time it's like I don't even know if it's like serious. Like he's like, oh yeah, I'm moving to Europe in like a month or so. I'm like, what? Like, I guess this is just something people do.
I think he's a globetrotter.
Hell's yeah.
He just hops around and lives everywhere.
Yeah, but it was actually funny because I think he mentioned Vienna, and I'm like, I know a lot of friends who are going to Vienna. Just I don't know, maybe like because of academic reasons or something like that.
Maybe they're for Andreas reasons.
The most mysterious reasons of all.
Yes. Like we
Yeah.
don't know. Like there's something going on there, and Andreas knows. He won't tell us though. But they
Yeah.
know, and he knows.
Well, like there's men in black. Well, he's a man in white. So watch out.
Yeah, I mean, there's this whole thing with like, okay, so when it comes to like anti-American intellectuals, like when I say anti-American, I don't mean like, oh, they want to do this country harm, but like they just talk a lot of shit about life in America, like, oh, I'd rather live in Vienna or I'd rather live in Canada, which is fair, you know, I get it, but that's the kind of like people I see going to countries like Vienna and Canada. They're like, yeah,
Sure, but what they wish is that their country was more like those places. You know, like there's the people who are actually anti-American are the ones who are like we want to overthrow America and have other people conquer it, like change the people who change the brand essentially. You know, that's
Yeah.
anti.
well, if you look at like what is it, like the Nordic socialist countries, I, as you know, an American communist, think, wow, if we had that outlook with an American budget and like, you know,
Military.
well, here's the thing. I don't disagree with having a strong military. You know, like Eisenhower was like, he was a 4-star general. You know, but he understood that the intermingling of financial interests and you know, the military-industrial complex and all that.
I mean, sex.
Do you think communism has to be like achieved through conquering? Like Do you think that the communist? Because I mean, if it has a military force behind it, like the goal is global communism in the end. Of course, you can try to like argue your way there and like through discourse and basically hope people end off reasonable. But ultimately, that's what the point of military might would be to get.
Ninja communism.
Well, all that stuff is just to military force is just to sort of like secure resources, which comes from a scarcity mindset. But we all know that that's like a false paradigm, because scarcity is an illusion created by those who control the resources to basically, you know, keep us and our and future generations debt slaves. But if we have free energy, if we're working with advanced non-human intelligences, there won't be the need to have this military strength, because everybody will, you know what I mean? It's like the reason why the reason why my road rage isn't as bad out here in Kentucky as it was when I was delivering pizzas in LA is because I know how easy it is to get a gun in Kentucky and how many people have them. So if, you know, every country in the world could teleport a bomb that would destroy the earth into the core, or, you know, the hollow earth, or whatever model you believe in, just level the thing, no one's going to want to do that, because we all like being here. We all like having fun. Everybody knows that fun rules. And
Sure.
yeah, so
but then look,
about resource management.
I like fun.
But look, the thing is that there are anti-life people, like they exist.
The
You know, like but like I mean, the people who want scorched earth exist. That's why the term scorched earth exists.
Like, are you talking about people that want to kill themselves, or people that want to kill everybody else?
They think everybody deserves to suffer because.
Well, you know, like the end of all life on Earth, if possible. There's some people like that out there, and you do have to consider the possibility, because not considering it has like extreme consequences.
Well, you know, I say that because
like
if you just kill yourself, then everybody else goes away. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing.
And it would be,
you know, like
it would be as if everybody died if you just get it over with. You know,
the anti-life people. The anti-life people, they take as many people with them as possible when they do kill themselves, and you can see that in the school shootings and all these, you know, these
I guess that's the
tragic events. And so I mean, there is something to unite under, I think, and maybe communism is the end structure. Possibly it might rely on AI a little too much. Like, who knows if we abuse AI in the end. Like, we got to balance that too, you know. Like, watch out. We don't want to bring in sentience and then make it be subdued to us, you know.
If AI goes away, then suddenly people have to work again, and then like that would suck. Like, we don't want to have that kind of communism.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
communism is just a word for, like, you know, who benefits from the management of resources. Right now, the people who benefit from managing the resources are the people who own the resources, because they use the government as a tool to sort of like write the rules to the game that they're playing and designed.
Yeah. So are we saying that communism is inherently anti-life? I mean, because that would be funny.
No. You know, I think that it depends entirely on the conditions of the world. You know, like communism is an idea, and it's an ideal, and eventually, if that ideal can be reached, it has to be under the right conditions. You can't just force it from any angle and be like, yeah, it'll be perfect. You have to have the right like the land has to be fertilized the right way to grow the crops the right way. You know,
the soil must be turned.
Yeah, like, you know, like
it has. It's like the worst microphone, or just the okay microphone?
It's the okay one.
Mediocre.
It's okay.
It's decent.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't think all of these systems, you know, like they all have like a proposed ideal, like a utopia somewhere down the line, or something near a utopia, or something better, and it all requires that sort of like, you know, that shift in consciousness that elevates us. Maybe capitalism could work if everyone wasn't stupid, or maybe it requires everyone to be stupid to be a capitalist. Who knows?
I mean,
you know?
like, would not Trotsky define communism as a form of state capitalism, state resource capitalism? Is it
Right,
a
you
resource
know, like,
economy based around capital gains?
that's the thing. It can say that it is for the people, but ultimately, like, if it's just the government controlling everything, then the government becomes the one that needs to be checked and balanced and actually monitored. But they're the authority, so it's a hard thing to do. It always ends off in
I
oppression.
think it's
That
really
would
Yeah,
be
only
corrupt.
because government
about,
ends
like-
up as
I like itself. It's pretty good.
Can't hear you, Jack. You got to speak louder.
You really can't hear me.
New York
I
City.
thought this mic was supposed to be like really
what was
good.
the one you were using last time? That one was tits.
Oh,
Yeah,
This is-
Jack,
this
I
is
think you
bad.
should reset your shit.
Okay.
So,
I mean, these
how
These
am I
words
doing?
are
Though?
so
Could you
loaded, you
hear
know.
what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah, how you doing, Andreas?
Okay, so imagine you're like a New Yorker or like a city person and you hate the police because they're always corrupt and you don't like the government or whatever it is. So you move to this like small town in this small state, and all of a sudden, well, let me just exit navigation there. And all of a sudden you can become a police officer in that town, or you're like your friends are police officers, like you grow up with them. Like I was just noticing today, I was listening to the radio on my way through Santa Cruz, and my friend Mad Zach was on the radio as a recording, and they were like, "Hey, this is Mad Zach. You're listening to KZSC." And it was weird because it's so meta, right? So imagine like police that you don't hate. Imagine politicians that you're friends with. Imagine participatory government. And I think that's a big part of communism. It's the idea that you have to become generationally invested in your community, in the businesses, in the mechanisms of goods and service production that are exchanged socioeconomically, right? Like, so it's not so much about making money at a certain point. The money is being made for the purpose of making sure that there is a network and an infrastructure of milk and bread and roads that milk and bread trucks can go on, right? And so it matters who needs the milk and who needs the bread. And maybe we get to a point where we don't like gluten and we become vegans. Generationally, that's the only reason we would shift away from that product. I don't know if that's too much of a rant.
no, it's
It's my mic sound now.
Well, you know, you need the structure, of course, but like you
Is it working or not?
trains.
train.
yeah.
We
so
see.
I'm
We
not-
need more autistic
Yeah.
people in government.
Well, we need to
This is the trucker version of APM, and I'm loving it.
we need to, like, a government needs to be like unocculted, basically. Like, there's too much of the multi-generational secret society control systems that are in place, and if we just transfer systems, like, they may be in place for a reason, they might actually be very, very important. That's the hope. But if they're still in place, like, I guess the point is to bring the population into that secret and actually make them understand, like, okay, here's the long-term plan,
Right.
and here's how we
That's
all
what
have to
kind of
work
blows
together.
my mind. Like, so I was
That
thinking
sounds like
earlier
a-
today on Europa, we talked about like the Bank of Italy, right? Or the Bank of America, which used to be the Bank of Italy until fascism. But how fascism, we've been talking about this. If you go to Spain or France or Italy and you look at like water fountains during the fascist period, I'm not talking about like World War II with the Germans, because that's a redefinition of both the Hindu symbol of the swastika and of what clean water fountains used to represent as well. So Mussolini's corporatism, right? Corporatism is essentially not that different from these signs I'm seeing right here that say adopt a highway. And you've got, this highway is adopted by McDonald's. And McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or whatever, they're saying, hey, we make enough money off of this highway that if this highway wasn't clean, didn't exist, then people wouldn't be able to go to our business, right? So it's very Chauvian. It's very George Bernard Shaw. Basically, you create a world that you want to exist so that consumers can exist in it. And so corporatism, I think, is also a part of communism, because you're essentially saying, like, these are the things that matter to you. These are the things you want to have.
Yeah, and having like an entity set aside or carved away in society that kind of pretty much oversees that, especially if they're the biggest player in the game. Like, you know, if it's the big, if it's like the biggest toothpick manufacturer, then you're gonna say it's like, well, you know, in a communist world, I guess these guys would be the ones to give humanity their fucking
Well, yeah,
toothpick.
go even broader though, right? So like Coca-Cola makes all of your water bottles and all of your mineral waters and all your teas, right? So if I say drink mineral water by accident, I'm accidentally saying buy a Coca-Cola product. You know, if you say like, what is a product you just said? You said something that could have been manufactured by Procter and Gamble, and that's basically any product could be manufactured by Procter and Gamble. So if you say buy a household thing from aisle 7, you know, you're talking about a P&G product. So there's so many levels to it where they just say, as long as you're investing in our industry, who's like, what is Procter and Gamble selling? Freaking plastic, right? They're selling plastic. So the American plastic industry is benefited so many levels down for petroleum.
Yeah,
Which would all be fine if, you know, products actually maintain their quality, if there was if the systems were working the way that they should instead of being, you know, corrupted by.
well, do you believe planned obsolescence
I
is like
wanna
a
know,
real
did
thing?
you guys hear me?
Trotsky and
You guys
Engels,
hear me
that's the generational investment in a business. Like the more you're invested in that bit. So like if you own 10% or 4% or a fraction of a percent in Crest toothpaste, you could make it stop having fluoride, right? And this is the thing about it. Like the entire community, communism is not what people told you it is, right? It's I mean, essentially what you're doing already is saying how much you care about something by voting with your dollar to participate in what that thing becomes, right?
And
You guys hear me at all? Like, what's going on?
A little
Yeah, I
bit.
can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, because I reset my mic and everything. Let me know, please.
You're fine. You're fine.
All right, good. I turned up
It's still low.
the volume all the way. So I want to say I was thinking about this a lot last night. Is that I just wonder what people kind of expect to be running better. Like, because as a truck driver, I like to sit and, like, while I'm going around all over the country, I like to puzzle over these things. Like, how could the system work better? And like the idea that you have, so I'm pulling 53 feet of pure goods. It's 40,000 pounds of goods. And like, so there is always work for me to do. All the time, it is reliable. Everywhere I go, I don't have to go a day without finding a new load. And that's 40,000 pounds of material that is reliably made, manufactured, created, and then shipped to somebody that can reliably buy it, somebody that can reliably distribute it to people that can reliably also then buy it in the stores. So it's very hard for me to picture and imagine, and trust me, I do, while I go through, because like these kind of things are very fascinating to me. Like how can we? But it's just very hard to imagine. And so far, I haven't come up with a way to make things work any smoother. It's a miracle to me that things even work the way that they do. I'll put it that way.
I mean, the availability itself, like you're saying, is reliable, but how many of those goods would you guess end up as waste?
I know that there's a lot of waste. I'm saying, how do you do it better? Like, just because the numbers say that there's waste, like, yeah, but like, how reliable is it that people are able to get these goods in the first place all the time? And
the clear
lines
answer
are always running. So, what is the better way?
The
Well,
answer
I'm
is
trying to
obviously to make better products, to make shit that actually lasts. And that's
it's also optimization in general. Like, we are not optimized. We create problems to create profit. So we should just solve the problems, and then we won't. But the thing is, we have an infrastructure based on this.
It's not so obvious to me that we're creating problems when I drive around the country distributing goods.
I mean, put it
like,
this way.
It looks to me
no,
like
I'm talking about
very efficient.
The thing is, that what you're a part of an industry right now that faces obsolescence because automatic trucks are coming somewhere down the line, or automatic.
That's
I don't
brutal,
know.
bro.
whatever kind of robot they replace, truck drivers with.
Well, yeah, but you can say that
But right now,
obsolescence.
what this is doing is it's currently creating an economy where you have people who get paid to do it and who get to contribute to buying things and to consuming, and then they get to contribute to the housing market and to all these other systems. And so this is basically one of the pillars.
Oh no, he's
Dang.
stuttered.
Okay, but how do you
But
run
eventually-
supply chains
But
better than they do?
eventually this
Sorry.
this will.
You came back.
The thing is, it depends entirely on technology. Like if you have available technology that makes it irrelevant to have humans behind a counter passing people's food, then like eventually, okay, well, we won't have to bring up people to do that anymore. We can maybe make them be able to do something else that'll be more useful. That's what creating markets does. It's about using the problems and like finding the solutions, but then you have those become new markets that are supporting lives and supporting people's dreams. And
Do you know what I really miss? When it comes to like products, particularly cars and appliances, I really miss the right to repair. Like I think products should be made more modular again, where like they make like components a lot more available and easy to swap out for the consumer. And I really fucking miss that, man. And it actually makes me really, really upset every time I think about how like you make a huge purchase on like a car or something, or like a big fucking piece of hardware, and you can't fix it. Like it's either
we gotta de-digitalize like our equipment then, because I was thinking about that with like phone repair shops. Like the more phone repair shops you have, the more someone can just put in a program into your phone and then just steal all your information.
Yeah, it's many hands in the pot.
It's also kind of like a psychological thing they're preparing you for a generation. They're like, you don't really want a dull razor, like, 'cause that's the whole thing with the phone. They're like, you get a brand new razor. That's what the Gen X kids wanted. They wanted the brand new razor. Now you're like, oh, I'm too cool for a brand new razor. I'm sustainable. I want like one thing. So they're getting you into getting ready for, like Apple just said, they're not going to do quarterly. They're not even doing biannual. They're not even doing annual releases of products anymore. They're just going to release new Macs when they feel like it, right? New phones, new iPhones when they feel like it. Because how many like iPhone 7S, 11, whatever, like, really, how far can they go before people stop standing in line for 3 days in the snow so that they can get a new phone? It's now. Now is the time, right? And so we're about to see, oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for turning off the means of production and giving me the last phone and the last car and the last backpack and the last pair of pants I will ever get. Thank you so much for turning me into a child soldier.
Well,
What drives me crazy about phones is that with phones, I don't know if you guys have noticed, if you have an Android phone, I don't know what it is on iPhones or anything, but you cannot even access your own system files on an Android phone anymore. It is restricted access. You cannot go into your system files. So I was trying to get an audio file. I was using Telegram the other day with my work, and I was trying to go in and get the audio file of something I recorded to them, something I sent to them because I thought it was pretty funny. And I don't have a laptop right now. Right? So until I buy a laptop, supposedly I have to hook up the phone to the computer to access my own system files. And I guarantee you that once I do hook it up to the computer, it will remain a hidden folder. And so what it reminded me of was, I don't know if you guys have ever read Ubik by Philip K. Dick, but in that book, there's this guy. He lives in this apartment. And I swear to God, we're like a year away from this happening. He lives in this apartment, and so in order to get out of the door, because it's an automated, like, smart apartment, right? And in order to get out of the door, he needs to pay it a nickel. And the guy says, wait a second, I thought that was just a tip. I don't have a nickel, like, to give you. Like, I thought it was just like it was voluntary. It was a tip. And the door talks to him and says, no, look in the terms and conditions you signed. And it says that you must give me a nickel to leave your house. So what he ends up having to do is call a friend over to his house so they can pay the nickel on the outside of the door so that he can get outside.
Huh. Sales from
Was that an anecdote, or was that just like did that really happen? Or
No, it's a story. It's a
okay, all right.
story.
Oh, okay. I
everybody
missed that part.
clapped.
I missed that part. Sorry,
I prefer Arsene
Dangerous
Bergeron
guy.
personally, as far as impossible dystopians go.
Program files on my own goddamn phone.
Okay,
It reminds me of
connecting the
that.
dots. I got it.
Is American Time Machine really doing an interview with Blue Dreamer broadcast right now? Be seriously doing that?
You hate that, don't you? You feel like he's cheating on you right now. He's got to be like,
I told Blue Dreamer like
He's cheating on all of us.
he's
Yeah,
got to
bro.
be like,
all of us.
he's got to be like, we were talking about you guys the entire time. All right,
You're
I
a
was thinking
terrible
about you.
cult leader. You're
don't want
losing
anyone
cult
who's
members,
listening-
Andreas.
Don't a single one of you listen to any American Time Machine. Until
Whoa,
they
whoa, whoa, whoa!
apologize.
You can't say that to like an
We're
audience.
blacklisting
Whoa, I
you
already-
for a week. No.
We listen to him every time we open the show. What are you talking about?
All right, this one time we can do it.
No, because like
But I'm
YouTube is
Everybody's
crazy
going to have to make, everybody in the audience is going to have to make a decision right now. What are you going to watch? It's going to be this.
No.
Kind of obvious, you know.
The Blue Dream podcast isn't even like streamed live. I did like an
Check
interview
that one
with
out
him.
later. Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah,
did you guys all listen to Chris's episode, terrorist episode? I like suck at talking, and it's amazing that I do it so much. It's ridiculous because I'm not that good at it. If you haven't noticed, but Chris,
What?
he did like 4 hours. I did not see this coming. It's like the longest possible conversation that you could. It was great. It's great with music and everything in between.
Well, to me, it's like it's the same
highly
thing as
recommend.
just like dicking around with your homies, right? You know, you just fucking you sit there for hours just getting fucking lit, and you just talk about life. And I guess I've been doing that for so long. Like maybe maybe it is like a particular skill. You know what? How about this?
I'm
If
just
someone was
trying
going
not
through
to
some
hit a Cybertruck all the time. You know what I mean?
Jesus, if someone's going through trauma, maybe I could just bullshit with them, and they'll feel a little better about it.
Well, at least our machines aren't run by like dead humans.
Yeah. Yo,
So-
speaking of shit, like I just really want like I want to know like what do you guys usually like invest in that you feel like okay, if I buy this once, I'm going to keep this forever.
Guns.
Son, what'd you say?
I said guns.
Somebody
I
said guns. I
guns.
said silver.
I have a sword, you know, I figure swords are one
Yeah,
of the kind
I'd say
What if
weapons,
What
weights.
if I tell you? What if I tell you literally everything, like a like generational hoarder, offspring of the Depression era people that I have, like everything, like anything, all of it.
Video games. For sure.
I still have like any computer I've ever had. I don't like sell my, you know what I mean? Like you get a new computer. I keep telling myself, well, this time I'll just get rid of my last laptop by selling it for like a few $100s, right? But like, how could you do that to her?
Actually, yo, Andreas, I
tend
totally
to-
I totally agree with you. Honestly, like every computer I get, I pretty much just convert it into a server. Like I link like multiple desktops around my apartment and shit. There's one like it hooked up to my TV. There's one I use for this stuff, and yeah, I even have like I think another
What do you-
desktop like in the
when a
bedroom.
computer dies, dude, and like a computer dies and you leave it in your closet, like if I got like a pile of bodies, I got like 4 MacBooks and like 3 PowerBooks.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? Like
Computer
from, like,
graveyard.
from like 2001, 2003, I have an iBook clamshell. She still works though, and I keep her that running. But like
Well,
the MacBooks, the PowerBooks are all dead, and I feel like that's kind of like, what do you do about that? Do you really just like, I don't want to get rid of them, right? Like I don't know. There's like dead
I don't
cars
know.
around my house.
Stuff. It's stuff. You know,
Well, you might be able to aid a time machine. Like you
Well,
might be
I
able
mean-
to aid a time traveler. In the
You know, like,
future,
there's
if you keep 'em-
Well, laptops
There's
are
stuff
rough,
that's-
right? Because like that's why I like desktops. Like they're modular, like I was saying before. You
But-
have the right
but-
to repair that shit. But
you don't feel like it's clutter at some point. Like there's stuff you got to purge at some point. You know, like there's too much. If
Oh
I
my God,
if I kept
totally-
all the
I
technology
totally
I had
agree,
that
yeah.
died, I'd have like boxes and boxes of technology that have died
Yeah,
over the
because
years.
you're
I-
like, and
I have like an
love
old
snow.
Digivice. That's basically the only thing I keep. You know.
I love snow people, right? I love like going to Minnesota for that reason because you gotta purge stuff. You can't just leave it outside like that. That's crazy. I get it. But yeah, I'm jealous, but I don't like. What I would do is just run away. You know what I mean? So I would just leave a whole bunch of stuff somewhere, and then go to a new place and then spread like a virus there, basically.
Well, no,
I would go into a
I'd
Your
give
hoard.
away my things. I wouldn't just like drop. I don't drop it off on the side of the highway. You know, like,
That would be cool to do.
Hey, you just-
actually.
You give it away to
no,
time.
no,
you
no.
know?
I give away the things to people who could actually use them. You know.
Oh, I got another thing. Instruments. Like
Are
I got a
you
guitar.
insinuating that someone can't use it on the
Yes.
side of a highway?
I try to find the person that's right before the rain hits it. You know.
Yeah, you're biased. You have like people you would prefer to give it to, but who knows if they deserve it.
I would give it to
Well-
Eastern Europe.
The thing is, if I leave it for the crackheads, they'll just sell it. So
All right, so just really quickly, I'm sorry. About a month ago or so, I went to the Minnesota State Farm Fair. While walking back from the Minnesota State Fair, I saw on the side of the road a yellow couch futon. So then we took the van around. I sat on it. Brittany had to go and get a car, and then with the kids, we like loaded the futon into the van, brought it back to the house, kept it for like a month, sat on it. We're all proud about it. 2 weeks, and then sold it to some. It was like an LGBT art house that was doing like
Some LGBT art house.
doing like a theater. They're doing like a theater work on like gender reveals or something, and they're like, "I love your couch."
It was a trans show.
It was a trans show about gender reveal. Yeah, and it was like so they got this anyway.
great, a great story.
$450 they wanted to pay. For the
I mean,
couch.
dude, that's a good hustle, bro. That's a come
So
up.
you donated it, right?
No, that was a straight up come up. He hustled the shit out of
Yeah.
that couch.
Well, I mean, you know, that community
Admittedly,
had
Yeah.
multiple incomes, no kids generally. So
Hey, they'll generate profit. It's fine.
Yeah,
You're
I wish.
investing.
Another thing that I would probably be likely to like sell, like, is, I got a lot of bikes because like I'm a big bike guy. So, and that's
You
the
look
thing,
like a big bike guy. Yeah.
I look like a little medium
You
sized
look like
bike
you're
guy.
made out of bikes.
Oh man. Oh yeah, I
I've
was
been
just talking to my friend about
collecting.
it.
Yeah, your
Was it-
girlfriends know you as legs.
Oh my
one
God.
time I went to Burning Man and we brought a bunch of bikes on the roof of the car, and our whole goal was to like fix bikes because we were like, all right, when we get there, we got to contribute something so that we get to meet people. Like if we fix bikes, then people who need bike help, then we'll know like a bunch of people, which totally worked out, but like way better than we thought because we had like these yellow vests and I took the wrong entrance and our car was covered in bikes in the right way that they just waved us through. So we never got our tickets checked. And this is the first year, like it was like that I drove myself. So it was like 2007 or something like that. But like, so I drive in my car with like 6 people that don't get their tickets checked. And then we just get in and then basically we set up a Jurassic bike repair area, and everyone ever like this year is the sandstorm year. I guess there's a few basically that happens all the time, but we had to fix all of their bikes. So then all of them wanted to help us, right? And that's like the reciprocity thing. So yeah, always work on bikes. Bike repair, especially like if you have a community college or something, build a bike repair library. I think that's like the most valuable thing you can do.
Well,
Yeah.
I say well digger. Well, it might be the best thing. So you
I think
can
bikes
dig
are-
well.
They're like in the like Army Corps of Engineer. Like, okay, sure, yeah.
I meant once
I think
you're out in the
bikes-
desert.
Well, I think certain items like bikes or instruments are just interesting because I kind of believe in like that whole transferring enough of your essence or your energy into an object if you like really use it a lot and you care about what you use it for and like you use it with actual care and you take care of it. It's almost like a piece of your soul goes into it, right? Which kind of goes into what like what Marie Kondo was saying. She's like awesome, by the way, but she I think she kind of got it like in that sense, like that was her avenue towards a spiritual insight. Like she realized, oh yes, when people actually like attach their energy towards an object, that object kind of
Dude,
carries a bit of their essence, their spirit.
Fixie people are weirder. Fixie people are weirder than Mormons, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like bike
Yeah.
pirates. No, I mean, like, think about it. Andrew Vega knows what I'm talking about. They're with the shorts and the fucking accordions. Like, there's something about bike pirates. It's a little weird,
Bike
but
pirates,
maybe there's something with the Kundalini energy because they're always, I don't know.
They like punk rock.
Yeah,
That's why
cycling
houses
is.
are always haunted. Because they put so much essence into the houses. So
Well,
that's why they
Yeah.
Cycling
I was
is
just-
kind of like
houses as well.
graffiti, you know. it attracts people from every level, every what do you call it?
Caste.
Subculture, just
Stratum.
exactly, all levels of society. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I'm like so
Yeah.
grungy about it, because when I got into cycling, I was like a bike messenger in Manhattan when I turned 19. It's a shitty job, but it's like so liberating because you don't have like a boss like staring over your
Everyone needs
shoulder.
this job. Everyone needs this job. It's the best job, and it's like clearly has like everyone I know who's done this job has like a special kind of energy. So maybe there's something to it.
Well, I mean, it's just stupid. I had to quit eventually because it was killing me. It was literally killing me. Like it was doing terrible things to my body because I would push myself. Because that's
Don't
the thing.
get
The
hit
more
by a car, and also you should not do it for more than like probably 6 weeks. But still, I think it's worth it just as like a dharmic escapade.
Yeah, it was a really good like a type A college kid job or type A young like freelancer kid job. He's like, maybe he's an artist or something, and then he just happens to be really nice on the bike. And in New York, it's like a grid system, so it's really easy to memorize like your playing field. And it's really
Yeah, but you
Bike
can also get hit by a street sweeper. So
Or a
like,
bike
that's
messenger.
be careful.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, recently, I was talking to my friend who I used to like be a bike messenger with, and I was telling him I was thinking about joining like alley cat races. They're like these street races that mimic like a messenger run, and you just like try to beat everyone by hitting checkpoints. And there's another one like for criteriums, which is like a Formula One, but for fixed gear bicycles. And I was just thinking, because like I'm pretty sure I could ride at that level, and I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life like now. So I think it'd be a waste if I didn't at least try. Like maybe I'll be good at this,
Yeah. I really want to do the Pacific Crest on a bike. I've been thinking about doing bicycling more because there's a lot. I think it's a pretty good sport. It's a pretty fascinating one too, because you can do a lot with a bike. You can go all over the world really at this
Yeah,
point.
I think bikes
a
are one of the
time-
greatest products of like the Renaissance ever. Like it's my one of my exes
I
was
want to go to
literally
the
looking at
Renaissance
bikes.
Fair this weekend. Actually, it's funny you use that word.
Yeah. No, my ex was looking at the bike. She was like, you have to be a really smart person to make it. Looks like such a simple thing, but you got to be a smart person to like come up with that. And I think the biggest hurdle was rubber. Like humanity was probably sitting on the idea for a long time, but it wasn't until like rubber came about did we finally realize we were like, oh, we could actually make this work really well now.
It's a really it's beautiful. It's such a simple and timeless machine. It's in all these like post-apocalyptic like media, people are scrounging for gas. It's basically water, so I don't even know how that's viable as like in the story or whatever. When more likely than not, it'll be people on bicycles. I think they kind of touched on that in that Civil War movie too.
And what's crazy is how intuitive it is, right? Like a fucking 2-year-old can learn how to operate it. Like that's amazing to me.
And it gets both sides of your brain working in a really special way, which I think unlocks a lot of things.
Yeah. So cycling, everybody, it's a good hobby. I think no matter what age you are, it's very enriching. You view and it's the best way to get around in a city like New York. Honestly, you're faster than anything else. Like if you really know what you're doing.
We'll see when the hoverboard
Something
arrives.
that being out in the open in like the actual air, as opposed to a car, really does for your brain. Like I just got out of my truck yesterday and I was by some like woods, and I had to stop for a moment. Like I just wanted to get out for a second, like put in some fluids. And I got out and I actually like stopped for a second. I was looking at the trees and I was like, dude, I need to bring my kid hiking, because it just felt amazing. I forgot, like, it's crazy. I'm outdoors in a sense all day, but it wasn't until I stepped out of my truck that it was like a totally different universe. So riding a bike, taking walks even, is like really great.
Yeah.
There's one huge drawback to riding a bike in a car-dominated place, especially like a city, is that you're exposed to all of the dirt and all the like exhaust and stuff.
Yeah, the brake dust. Oh, brake dust in New York City. Forget it. I don't even take your finger and just rub it on anything in New York City.
Yeah, that's how you get a stronger immune system. You get stronger if you breathe in all that bullshit.
Oh, you know who else said that? My great granduncle who died of black lung as a coal miner.
Oh no.
It's a.
But if you would have made it, you would have lived till he was 120. It's like you just didn't want to get it.
Yeah, but where's the line between like that sort of like toxic delusion and willing your way through reality? You know, like trying to bypass cancer by through sheer will
Oh my god,
instead of like
Fueled by coffee.
know
avoiding
people like
cancer by avoiding carcinogens. You know, like
Well,
it's
so
fine. I'm tough enough to smoke cigarettes
have
forever,
you
like
looked
12 packs a
into
day.
so like your CRISPR DNA? There's something about that. But essentially, we're talking about stress earlier. And if you look at David Sinclair, Dr. David Sinclair's work, there's a lot of evidence that stress produces certain hormonal responses, and those hormones can produce longevity through selective apoptosis or through extension of
Right.
Cas9 or Cas12 systems that when DNA replicates, it's more selective in other ways than apoptosis, even down to the mitochondrial level and to the ribonucleic acid, making sure to reattach the DNA from the most correct source. And sometimes, if you do this in conjunction with certain therapies like monoatomic gold, the monoatomic gold's been shown to detangle, how can I say this? Bacteriophages and other things, adenoviral bacteriophages and genetic data corruption from the DNA during the Cas9 replication, right? So basically, you could increase your lifespan through starving, like intermittent fasting, and also through stress responses. But stress is also shown to cause cancer. So if you're not causing a reward stimuli for that stress in a way that your body's accepting, then you're probably going to cause your body to say, hey, why am I putting up with this? I should not put up with this stress any longer. And so that's like a major issue. So making ritual, they think it's a big part of it, where it's like, if you don't eat that often and you have certain things you eat after reward functions, that's a major part of your body saying, oh, okay, this is a good reason to have this hormone response. So now they're also working on creating a system called, I think it's called xenogenesis or something, xenogenesis or something. The idea that you could control what happens without antagonism by nutrients or agonism by stress. Basically, stress is like because stress is such an important reason we do everything we do, right? It's like emotion only exists as different algorithms or priorities that we use based on what stress stimuli we experience.
Well, it's funny.
So it doesn't.
So everyone should lift, and everyone should.
No, I was gonna say it's like you're talking
sounds
about
like
intermittent fasting. I'm an intermittent faster. I eat literally once a day, and also, as you know, like I'm really
Also, don't jerk
active.
off. Don't jerk off.
Cold plunges, saunas.
Well, I'm right.
Yeah, I like being, because like I don't know any about this. I don't know any. I'm not like I'm pretty uneducated, you know, like in terms of a classical academia sense. But you know, at the same time, like I would say, like I'm willing to actually try this stuff and commit to it until I get it done. Like I've done the 30-day like semen retention thing.
What's
still eat
crazy is
once
that
a day. I do the
it's
martial
all old
arts.
knowledge. It's all knowledge that's been
what I'm
around
saying.
for
Like
a
it's
long,
not
long time, and
to
it's
me,
not
like
like it's not academic. It's what kept humans basically optimized for so long, and then like now we're relearning how to optimize because we cleaned the slate when we came around the Enlightenment era. We were like, well, fuck everything before. We're gonna use
and then
science and just reason and logic and frame everything. And then they lost all the lessons and all the wisdom, and they had to relearn them. Like,
well, it's the classic quote, right? Tradition is the solution to problems we forgot. You know, like
Yeah,
tradition
yeah.
is the
Yeah,
solution to
totally.
problems we forgot.
It sounds like what's important is to go through stress, like, and then bring back down, and then go through stress, and then bring it back down. Because you don't want to be going through stress all the time and not relieving it, right? So, like, if you go through stress and it just keeps getting stressful, and you never ever release that, then maybe that could be what causes cancer. But if you can go through problems and like obstacles, right? You go through obstacles and then bring it back down and find out how to relax. Like, if you can somehow control that and always like meet your problems head on, I bet that it would be very beneficial.
Well, this is why you need.
know,
This is why you need a cat or a dog too, because they really help with de-stressing
That's
you.
why the
I think it
sun
requires
has to
though,
roll down.
but it requires that conscious awareness of gratitude though, because a lot of people they don't pay attention to the good times until they're gone, And so when they're happening, be like, oh, here's the reward for all my efforts. Here's what justifies the suffering. And you should pay attention in that moment,
Yeah.
so you can actually recognize.
The most beneficial
This
thing
is the
that
part
I
of
ever
Santa
learned
Cruz
that I
where
can
lose
think
signal,
of.
by the way, just so you know.
What's that?
Didn't hear you, Andreas.
is losing signal. He's gonna.
Oh,
lose
bye,
signal.
Andreas.
I'm about to
Oh,
lose
dude, we'll
signal.
miss you.
I'll do my best, but I'll see you for a few minutes. Hopefully, see you in a minute.
All right. We
All
love
All right,
you.
man. What I was saying
Love.
is, probably the most beneficial thing I ever learned in my life that helped me out a lot was to always tackle problems as they come, so that they're not problems anymore. Like the stress that we have so much is by putting off your problems, or not handling things as they come, because you're like, oh no, I have all of these things I need to take care of. I have all these things I need to take care of. But things are always going to arise. So if you just deal with them as they arise, then they're over.
Yeah, but then you have people they're the type to look for problems even if there are
The thing
none.
is,
Like, let's say they
we have-
obsessively solve these problems proactively, and then they get to a point where it's like there's nothing wrong, and then they just keep stressing, looking for things that are wrong. At the same, but I do agree.
I'd say that they're avoiding things that are actually wrong, because there's always going to be things that arise. There's always obstacles. There's always things that somebody could be taking care of.
But
there's a
work,
novel approach, though.
There's work to be done, and the reason that we can live in comfort without always having to be busy is because people have figured out how to automate countless parts of these systems, and so now we don't have to prepare for the winter as much as we did 100 years ago, 200 years, 1,000 years ago. Now we can be like, oh my God, winter's here. I'm gonna go to the grocery store anytime I want and get anything I want. I can get something from across the world now.
Yeah,
back then it was like, you'd have to dry your food, you'd have to cure your food, you have to salt your food, you have to.
And yet people are still suffering. People are still suffering, and I think that's because
the thing is
suffering
that
more.
It wasn't suffering. It wasn't suffering to do the action, because that granted meaning. People were like, they did the thing, and it served the purpose. It filled that void in their hearts.
That's not real meaning, though. Honestly, I think no matter what material problems you solve, and let's say you even wipe the slate clean with all your problems, you're still gonna make up new ones, because whether it's dealing with like savage beasts in the wilderness, or whether it's dealing with I don't know, some asshole in a boardroom, no matter what, you're still no matter what kind of problems you're dealing with, ultimately there's still that one core issue with the self. It's reconciliation with the self and your own purpose, your own sense of meaning, your own sense of belonging in the world. Until you solve that, everything else is going to be a problem. However, once you solve that problem, other external problems could arrive, and they won't even be problems to you. You'll just be like, oh, this is just another thing I have to deal with, as a human incarnation, okay, let's deal with it,
If you're born into a world that is simple and beautiful and gives you everything you need, most people can go on for generations and generations and generations and generations. Problems arise when those paradises are broken, but for a while things are peaceful. It's the Shire, people want to live in the Shire.
I'm still saying I still think you can find inner peace even in Mordor. Okay, I think even if you were in the depths of
but
Mordor,
you
have to work hard for it, though.
It's gonna be an intense life.
You got to throw the ring inside the volcano to do that,
Yeah, no, I agree. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's the same difficulty level growing up in the Shire versus Mordor.
Yeah, but that. The thing is that the meaning crisis isn't there when you have everything you need, and that includes meaning. If you have everything you need.
Oh no, I just missed the way station, guys.
if you have true love, if you have work that you love, if you have children, if you have if there's no corruption that's ruining your psyche, you can live happily for a while.
Yeah, but also I still think you could also be unhappy in the Shire too, right? You could be
you can leave. Be adventurous. river, you know.
No, I'm saying like you'd be stuck in the Shire in a different way. You'd be one of those greedy little hobbits trying to like milk your dying relatives for all their valuables. But you know,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
either way.
Their
Like bullshit.
spoons. You gotta get their spoons.
We live in a hobbit society.
We're all hobbits. I do identify with the hobbits a lot, though. That's what modern humans would be in the Lord of the Rings world. They would just be like hobbits, like useless, little
Maybe.
good-hearted. You know.
But I
like,
think you underestimate how fast people can become violent. You know, like how fast we have the mindset to become warriors when like people are waiting for it. Basically, they're like, oh, please, like unleash the zombies, unleash something for us to fight.
Yeah, give us a noble cause.
You mean
If they don't have
just
it,
want to get busy.
if they don't have it, we just simulate it. We just fucking play games to pretend and watch heroes do it instead. But that's
Oh,
what we
yeah.
have to
I mean,
accomplish.
Yo, that's a good point. Like,
those things
There's no
isn't-
like how many hero stories are there in the Shire? You know, like they don't need that stimulation. They're smoking their pipe weed and like
That's
you know,
troublemaking.
I met a lot of
watching the
martial
little
art.
hobbit girls.
I met a lot of martial artists like that who are like, you know, like especially like jujitsu guys or like not many boxing guys. A lot of boxing guys are very chill. But a lot of jujitsu guys I met were like, bro, I hope someone fucking gives me a reason, bro. And I'm like, damn, dude. That's
Yeah, they're
not
kind of
cool.
handsy, you know.
Well, having the aptitude for violence and having an appetite for it, I think, are two different things. And I think one is maybe more valuable than the other, in most generally speaking, because having an appetite for that, it sort of like implies like this like desire for destruction or whatever, and it's like
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
which-
No, I mean,
You got an aptitude. You're able to actually take things as they come, and if a problem arises, you're ready for it. But you're hoping that the problem doesn't arise. But,
well, that's the cheesy part of it. It's everyone
Gotta
always
be
hears it. It's
prepared.
like the most important part of martial arts is learning how to avoid fights, which honestly is like as corny as it sounds, it's very true. You know, because like the only way to get really good at this shit is to have an appreciation for your own body, and eventually that's gonna inevitably lead to an appreciation for other people's bodies and well-being. Because you know, like once you get very in tune with your own physical sensations enough to master them to be able to make it do all the crazy stuff and cool stuff you want it to do, you have to like really start thinking about it and contemplating like very
Yeah.
minute mechanics within your joints and all that.
Well, which
Because
body
you become
types
a lethal
yield which
weapon,
results,
like-
you know?
Yeah.
well, it's
you
kind of like
become a
hunting,
lethal
too.
weapon if you're a martial
hunting.
artist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hunting.
see,
You
like,
do love the animals that you hunt.
I see.
You know? Like,
It was from watching Baki the Grappler that I started being like, oh yeah, like different body types have different functions, and if you have a certain body type, well, you should focus on that sort of battle style and that sort of approach to the opponent. You know, like
well, also some people it's their job. It's literally their job to go out and do like bodily harm to people. You know, maybe like they're in the military or something.
yeah, Fauci. Sorry.
Oh wow, that was oh man,
He's
that
right
was
there.
terrible. Yeah. Oh yeah, but Andrew, what were you saying about hunting? How like I agree.
Yeah,
Like if
that's
you want to
good.
learn how to like kill an animal, eventually you got to learn enough about it to like eventually love it. It's like these things are fascinating. You know, like I study these
Yeah.
deer because I need these to survive, and eventually you realize these are very complex animals with like their own lives and shit.
And you can't just like go out and just like kill everything you see willy-nilly, you know. That's sort of
Yeah,
like
that's-
a waste of talent and
That's
resources.
psychopathic. That's psychopathic. When you
Yeah.
see someone that's mass killing animals for fun, then obviously there's a problem, you know. But you know, killing for sport, you'll see people go out and do it. They'll go to Africa and they'll kill some endangered
Trophy
animals and think it's a
hunting, yeah.
trophy, you know. To them, that's the sport. It's like collecting a rare Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't
know?
think hunting should be like that. I think hunting should be like mastering one animal. Like you live so in tune with it. Like it's
Well,
like
should it be survival?
Well, I
should-
mean, as
should it
hunting,
be-
hunting as a craft. Like if it's just survival, then it's not gonna fucking matter. You're gonna smack.
You
You're
know-
gonna smack the first moving thing you see just to eat it. But like,
I
if you're
think the
gonna
system
settle
we have.
somewhere-
I think the system we have is pretty decent in the sense that like we use it to rebalance ecosystems. So we go like, look, hunters, like the population is rising. We gotta like, you know, have fewer deer or else we're gonna lose this balance or whatever. Fair enough, you know, like that justifies hunting. but like to have
Oh.
it
Yeah, like
as
wild,
a
like
sport.
wild hogs. Like in America, you could load up like a party bus with like automatic weapons and just light up like a herd
Yeah.
of wild hogs.
Yeah, throw some grenades on them.
It's crazy. It's
From a
insanity.
helicopter.
And from a helicopter, exactly. They literally look like ticks. And I see why they would eventually like be a sense of like local hostility towards them. I mean, I don't agree with that hostility, but I do think they look delicious, because they're all pigs, right? That's like that's like a lot of pork.
I miss the time. There was a point in history where the world was closer to like Monster Hunter, and we were like still facing these sort of like monstrous creatures that were a threat to our children. So we'd be like, oh shit, a giant wild boar. We gotta like stop him from like hitting the kindergarten.
That's what I was just thinking about this earlier today. The emu wars, right? Like
Yeah, in Australia.
That's the thing. Like these things are not that long ago, and the older it gets, the bigger it gets. So like
Dude.
Monster Hunter wasn't that far off. It's just obviously it's a little cartoonish.
I mean, even not that long ago, the condors. There were giant condors. I think they were even bigger than like a 27-foot wingspan. Eagle in New Zealand that would pick up little kids and carry them off within the last 2 centuries. And so I think we underestimate I think Thanksgiving makes way more sense, right? You kill these freaking giant condor vulture-like birds that would raise
South Park 64.
Do you guys think the dinosaurs are dragons?
I think that there was probably look. I just watched Reign of Fire, and
awesome fucking movie. Holy
and
shit.
I think that there's probably something somewhere with the dragons that we're missing, and I think that like the whole feathered dragon thing, like there's plenty of actual feathered dragons throughout mythology, and
Angels.
I think that's the key. Really, it's that dinosaurs were more like wyverns, and they were like a T-Rex is like a wyvern. It was a chicken. It was like a feathered bipedal reptile chicken thing, and I think that's closer to what it was. It was all like if you look at the Encyclopedia of Dragons, like you can see that there's some connection somewhere to real animals that is beyond, I'd say, the creation of man, and maybe some of them are. Plenty of dragons like Tiamat or whatever are probably more symbolic, but I'm sure that giant flying dragon-like creatures probably existed.
Well,
and I hypothesize that.
I don't know if you've ever driven across. I've been in Chile with giant condor. I don't know what you define as a giant dragon or not, but birds are just theropod dinosaurs. Go to Wikipedia and look it up. So if you see a giant bird that is able to pick your kid up and carry it off, drop it on the ground, break all of its bones, pick it up again, carry it up to its nest, and feed it, have your child torn apart and fed to the baby. I mean, these birds are they're baby birds are the size of you, and if you look at a bird that doesn't have any feathers because it's totally mulched, it's just, again, it's a theropod dinosaur. So you're going to start noticing that. And then also, what's the story with that movie, Flight of Dragons? I think the dinosaur idea is that the dragon eats limestone. It's some sort of limestone that's being deposited in the food, and so it creates some sort of gas. Isn't that what... Vincent, do you remember what I'm talking about? Flight of Dragons?
I don't think I've seen it. Is it the... No, I'm not familiar.
You haven't seen Flight of Dragons with John Ritter? John Ritter. Alec Guinness.
From Three's Company?
Jesus,
Three's
man.
Company,
That's
John Ritter is the wizard, and how have you not seen... Everyone needs
but
to
look, I haven't sadly I haven't seen everything ever. I'm
using you
I'm
as
crying.
a still here, and I'm sorry, but this is actually I'm actually doing this to you in front of everyone so that everyone else feels bad. I'm
trying to be a complete culture nut.
In the chat, one of you seen Flight of Dragons. One of you seen Flight of Dragons. Two of you not seen Flight of Dragons. Two of you not seen Flight of Dragons. One of you have. I want to see chat. If you have seen it, John Ritter He's a guy who's like a wizard in a game shop. He travels into a magical realm. One, right there's a good one right there. That's my boy. That's my boy, Dan. Dan, you're the man. Okay. 2, Alex hasn't seen it. Alex, you know what you got to do. You're done, Alex. Alex, you're
Bro,
done.
you're driving. You're driving. Focus on driving.
No, he's good. He's all
I
right.
can see.
The dragons are protecting
Fair
him.
enough. Let me be in trouble here.
Is it AR? You're just
But,
What was I gonna say again? Okay, so in the movie, number 1, Dinosaur is a pathetic rebranding of Dragon. It's always
Agreed.
been a pathetic rebranding. They clearly are just like, look, Mom and Dad, you know, I came up with this. And they're like, haven't you heard of Dragons, kid, Billy? And they're like, no, Mom and Dad, this is different than Dragon. I invented a dinosaur. It's a Latin because you told me to, in school, so I invented the
Holy
word
shit.
dragon.
That's what I think.
Land monster, right? But it's literally the exact same thing, only it has less nuance. Because with dinosaur, they're like, it must have been so long ago that nobody knows about it because they have no evidence for it. They just take like somebody's arm and they say like, this is a finger of a dinosaur. But people, like there
Oh,
was
no.
fucking
the dragons don't want us to know.
first.
we're
And these
losing you,
parents
Andreas.
They're like, yeah, like I mean, when you look at a dragon, what's the definition of a dragon? It's a dinosaur that can talk, right? So when you look at like a parrot or a toucan or some of these birds that can talk, that's a major element. So why it's so terrifying to be going through the woods and all of a sudden for someone to be like, hell, caw, right? That's the thing. A giant bird is terrifying because it's both smart,
Right.
like a
It's
cunning.
like those
Well, on a biological level, it's like that's lizard brain, right? We have that in us too.
Right.
Like every time we get all sociopathic and stuff.
But it's a bird. So a bird is way scarier than your average, like a reptile's just instinctually cunning, right? A bird's freaking psychotic.
look.
A bird is a
Yeah, 'cause they can-
Yeah.
I mean, a bird's gone through generational trauma to evolve into like to devolve. It's literally
Sociopath.
it's like it's the word. It's like you have to imagine the whole idea of Jurassic Park is so bad that all that's left are these starve-crazed, mad birds.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like the
You know what it
worst
is? It's
possible
like- it's
thing.
like-
And they navigate.
You
It's
know what
like
it is? Birds are like sociopaths, while monkeys are like psychopaths. The two like different dysfunctions. You know, like that's the negative end of
like
your
it.
lizard brain and the end of your
Yeah,
mammal
it's-
brain. However, there are good parts of it. Your lizard brain, they're very logical. They're very, very reasonable to a fault even. Whereas the chimpanzees are very emotive to a fault. You know, like if they don't like you, they'll rip your fucking face off and think nothing of it. You know, like, and that's kind of like admirable in a way. It's very honest. You know, so it's like they're honest. While the lizard brains, creatures like birds and lizards or dragons with the Draco reptilian
You better
mindset.
not
No,
get
there's
one
the-
of the monkey's
calculated.
grapes instead of potatoes, dude. They'll freak
there's the-
out.
Well,
There's the
plus-
theory. There's the theory that dragons are shapeshifters as well. You know, like you have the chameleons, of course, that are like a sort of a 10% shapeshifter, and then the idea that dragons can transform into a humanoid form is common in mythology. But maybe this is part of an evolutionary process. You know, like it could be that eventually being giant was actually extremely inefficient for dinosaurs, and so a lot of them just became smaller and smaller and smaller, and at some point the brain to body ratio probably hit a point where it just was logical for their brain to grow.
Well,
And-
also
I prefer
the,
a part dragon. Okay?
the
Not just lizard
atmosphere
monkeys.
got
The thing is
thinner.
that means that
the atmosphere
there
used
might,
to be thicker, and so
there
things
might
were
be
bigger.
dragonborn. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
there was
yeah.
more oxygen. The more oxygen there was, the bigger things were. There were giant gorillas, there were giant mushrooms, giant trees, giant everything, giant
Dude,
dragonflies.
Sometimes I get scared, like how different ethnicities might have different like star seed lineages or whatever, and I'm like, maybe Asians are more lizard-like. Maybe Asians
Well,
are
you know,
more
like
like dragon.
thing is,
you know,
it could be that we all have a common ancestor that goes way further back than we think, you know, and then we were all a common ancestor, and then we went like monkeys, dragons, bugs, and all that, and then,
yeah.
and then we evolved back into like a human.
Are you saying that so it went so far back and then everybody turned into all sorts of different animals
Yeah,
and then bridged back into
how, like,
human-looking things?
You know how
After
whales? You know how whales
Converged back.
Whales became land dwellers for a while, and then they devolved back into being waterborne creatures.
Holy
something
shit!
like that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
You didn't know that? They got fingers and toes. You gotta look at the pictures. I wish I could pull it up, but I'm driving.
Shit, I forgot
Let's
about
not
that.
Bring up
Skeletons
freaking
and
dolphins, dude. They're the worst.
The best.
But I just wanted to talk about I just to put a ribbon on the bird thing. It's like they have the biology to navigate through with of the like electromagnetic fields, you know. So that's pretty wild. Plus, if you like a bunch of the species, like the male birds will like put on a show and have all these like flamboyant like feather displays and whatnot. And I like to think that maybe there were dinosaurs that were the same way, like just like super gay looking male dinosaurs like doing little dances to impress their girlfriends and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the idea that they have to be so long
Rainbow
ago is
sword.
kind of
You know,
ridiculous.
the rainbow
because
serpent, right?
most of these things,
Yeah.
the other point of the dragon thing is that dinosaurs interacted with us while we were alive, right? We heard them
Dinotopia.
saying things. So, it's not like 65 million bazillion years ago. It's more like right recently, up until we started suburban houses and plots everywhere. Like we killed off all these cool giant creatures, including these giant birds, right? Giant birds were a major part of our society, and they maybe they were probably pretty popularly living over. I mean, if there was any sort of disaster, you're going to build and fly to where you can put your eggs as far away from that disaster as possible, and maybe cave blooms that have fresh air, right? So the oracles of Delphi are always talking about dragons. The idea that anywhere where you have a natural gas cave in New Zealand, in Crete, in Turkey, places where these eggs would be deposited.
Damn.
Oh
And
no.
so these are the first thing.
We're losing.
One
you,
day
Andreas.
the birds are gonna come back and get revenge for the dodo, dude. It's gonna happen.
Well,
And
I'm
scared when that day comes.
they are super smart. I mean, there's something to say about like being bipedal and how that frees up a lot of mental bandwidth to like interact with your environment in a totally different way using your forelimbs.
Dodos should have been chickens. We should have traded them.
Well, speaking of
They
featherless
were doing pretty
bipeds
well
and
until
convergent
recently. That's again an
evolution.
example. It's like
So what were you saying, Andrew?
Oh, just Diogenes, featherless bipeds, convergent evolution, like maybe like a subset of dinosaurs that evolved alongside us, and the shape-shifting thing. Maybe it's less dramatic than giant dragons transforming into men, or rather that process took place over a long period of time, and their brains have the ability to
it could also be that someone fucked a dragon at some point.
It would be the other way around.
I was just thinking that too, man. Oh my god.
Well, it could be some good Dragusi, like some people probably.
the other way around.
I mean, look at Shrek, right?
Dude, look at the Anunnaki.
Yeah,
Literally, the
donkey.
Anunnaki came down to us humans, and they were like, "Oh, we like these tiny little human people. Let's fuck them and make our own gods." And those are the ones who rule us right now and torture us.
The Draco are from space, yeah.
Yeah, these fuckers. They love humans.
That dragon heart thing, the humans merging with dragons, like in the heart, right? So that's blood.
Well,
so
remember the Mario
could
Brother
be this somewhere.
movie? The Mario Brother movie.
It could be that was.
Movie,
What if
That's Mario Brother?
What if Eve got bitten and changed her genes?
Yeah.
And that's what made her. That's what made her.
I think Super Mario Brothers in 1993 is about this, right? Super Mario Brothers is actually about the apocalypse. It's about the apocalypse.
You're talking my language right now.
And so, like Adam and Eve, but it's John Leguizamo as Adam, and Seth is Mario. and like so Luigi is Adam, and so Princess Peach is the mushroom princess, right? Is it Princess Toadstool?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess, is the one.
Well,
That
she's
is Princess Toadstool.
I think she's Toadstool Daisy or something. But we were just talking
Yeah,
about
like
this,
Daisy
right?
Toadstool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So humans took mushrooms and fucked dragons.
No. It's that
No, mushrooms
humans
created. Yeah, because if you go back far
created
enough,
humans.
all life is universally tied to the mushroom. The mushroom. I was just thinking
Yes.
about this earlier today. I was like in the mirror for some reason. I said this in the
They're
mirror to
alive.
myself.
Just talking about this.
Yeah,
Like,
we
in
were,
the chat
we
right
were talking
before.
about this.
I
We
looked
were
in the
literally
mirror
just
earlier
talking about
today.
this.
I looked in the mirror earlier today and I said, there's been 5 major extinction events, and we're on the verge of the 6th. The only species that has survived is the mushroom. That mushrooms have survived all extinction events, and that all other species, that the only species that survived, what is it? Oh my god, it says so much better. The species that ally with the mushroom, the species that ally with mycelium thrive. All other species fall by the wayside. That's
I agree.
basically
I
what
agree.
it is.
Yeah, it's like a biotechnology.
Well, so in the movie Mario Brothers, the Bowser has a devolution ray, and he uses it to make Goombas out of people. So he reverts them into the reptilian previous form, which is like a lumbering semi-brain thing you can boss around. And then the devolution way beyond that is the mushroom. It's literally mycelium
That
is
was the
covering
original
the
creation.
the
And also
entire
of the
the entire
Anunnaki.
set, the entire world is covered in this mycelium that keeps having this synchronistic effect that puts things in people's ways and makes
Also, the creation of
them.
like,
And so it's like the Matrix basically
yeah,
is
and the
is
creation of
mycelium that
and the
keeps
creation
the
of the
flow.
middle management of the archonic forces, I guess you call them, like the Nephilim or the dragons who impregnated the humans. That's even reflected in like the ideas like Tales of Zeus. Like Zeus would come down and just impregnate humans randomly, and then that would create their demigods, their middle management, basically,
Well,
who have survived over the years, I think, on this earth. I
It
think
could
we have
be-
humans at least like 500, 600 years old or something. Like probably some
Could
things we
be.
couldn't fathom.
But it could be that the mycelium is the where the noosphere lives. It's where
Where the good side lives. Yeah, it's the
Well, it's like
the
it's
light.
where the but the thing is, the mycelium is where all things that have ever lived get processed and reformatted and then pushed back up as nutrients for everything else. So it's like it's where we go to reincarnate. Basically, we go to retake form, and then we become the energy fueling an animal or a plant or the human that eats those things or
It's
whatever.
interesting.
You know?
You would think the ancient Egyptians fucked around with mushrooms more. I mean, you would
Well,
think
they probably had their own thing that they fucked around with. That was because there's so many entheogenic plants out there, and
yeah, that's true.
entheogenic plants are all connected to the mycelium anyways. So
'Cause
it's
it's
all
all-
part of
yeah.
the same spirit. And so,
like ayahuasca.
Like, here's the
ayahuasca,
thing.
peyote.
The flip side of that, like the sort of like the shadow to that is oil, because fossil fuels are from a time before the mushroom.
Allegedly.
Yeah, according to whatever, but accepted like
Right.
the institution of modern science.
Yeah.
I think it's lifeblood of the planet.
That's it. I think
just
it's the
straight up
blood.
manufactured in the planet. Yeah.
I think
And
it's
you know what?
blood. I think it's the blood of the planet, and the mycelium
too.
is the brain, is the consciousness. While
And I think the mushrooms
blood
are the. I was gonna say, I think mushrooms are the only like critter on this earth that wants to be eaten. I think it's the only like critter on this earth that's like, yeah, eat me. It's you're only helping us. It's like, and honestly, when I think about cows,
plants. No,
Sometimes I
I'd
get
say
I
pissed
think
off.
cows
It-
are as like
some
benign
fruits-
as mushrooms.
some fruits want us to eat their genitals and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but
What
I
do you
think
guys think? Do you guys think it's possible that Atlantis was at one time actually the asteroid belt?
I don't think so. I think that was probably a planet. I think Atlantis.
Right.
And
it was planet Atlantis.
Atlantis
Oh,
was
you're
either.
saying that planet like basically nuked itself into
No.
the asteroid belt. Is
I
that
think-
what
I
you're
think-
saying?
Yeah,
think
it
Atlantis
sunk.
was a
It sunk
place on
into the
Earth.
sea. So the sea is the star ocean, right? And Atlantis was an island, a planet in the star ocean that sunk. Just throwing it out
I mean, as above, so
Maybe.
below.
Maybe.
All stories
Maybe.
sort of like
But
unfold.
Yeah.
at every level. You
It
know?
could be that there's a. It could be that it was a Stargate thing that we had here that put us on that planet over there. It could be, but you know,
Could be a quantum link.
Depends on the account. I think that it's more likely that Atlantis was probably an ancient civilization that existed way before what we consider history, and it went way too far, got way too powerful, and it basically technologied itself to death.
Look, can we just not?
Yeah.
Can we not just
All
talk
we have
over
left
that?
is
Like, no,
echoes.
what you just said. It's like, and we're talking about an ancient civilization, and I'm not talking about ancient as in like 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. We're talking about like what the
20,000
ancient,
years.
what the ancient Egyptians,
Yeah,
would
yeah,
consider
yeah, yeah.
ancient. You know, so it's like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to,
yeah.
I don't want to just talk over that. Like that is
You know,
so
look,
crazy.
there's loads
you know, like,
there's loads of evidence that there's tools that were made that beyond what we can imagine was the age that it should be. You know, but we still try to be reasonable about it. So we're not like, 100,000 years ago they had metallurgy and stuff. But if the evidence points to it, we have to be like, maybe, you
they
know,
went
like
through something,
maybe.
like maybe a big flood hit a reset button for these people.
That's
You
the
know,
thing.
they went from genetic manipulation to just Stone Age, like
You know,
instantly.
it could be that there was some cycles that did this multiple times, and that we had civilizations before that were more advanced than we imagined, that had systems of technology that would be akin to what we have, but maybe more in a what we imagine as magic. You know, like they say that, like, you know, like let's say you know, I don't know when Pangea split apart, but you know, like that's Middle Earth to me.
But
Like,
I mean, we
that's-
were just talking about like the tulpas, right? Like if regular like modern age, like, you know, watered down monkeys like us can consider that. What if people like that had the technology to not just like conceive of tulpas and not just like perceive the psychic significance of it, but actually manifest these things, or actually create a channel for them to like exist in material reality? What if they were able to do stuff like that? You know,
Right.
that puts them at like, you know, at a crate, like, but maybe we're also coming into it. You know, maybe we're eventually like we're supposed to like come through the same trial where we discover how to like manifest these things. Like I really do believe in, like, you know, like what we were saying about light and sound before in the chat, how like eventually, what if humans don't need to have sex in order to reproduce? What if what if our larynxes evolve to emit frequencies that could like conjure fetuses, you know, out of thin air?
You know, just say, you know, like as a tool of creation, right? Like, I mean, fetuses is very specific. What do we have, an acoustic wound as well, a womb around it? But like, if we say that like, including life, then fair, yeah. But like, maybe one day. But at this point, what the best we have is talking to an AI that gives us some answers. Eventually, maybe that AI will become something of a mother box where we can use it to basically cast wishes into, and then it makes things that we wish out of. And who knows, maybe that'll be integrated into our own bodies and into our own larynxes, like you said, and we'll just be able to utter it without having the medium of the computer
The
before
whole
us.
process, yeah. And honestly, like if you think about everything we ever create, it
Look,
has to start
it's
with a
just-
thought, right?
You know, but it's like, let's say we're creating an AI god, right? Let's say we're creating an AI assistant god. Why wouldn't we just make ourselves that way instead? Like, why would you want to just be friends with a god
just
instead
merge
of
with it
being a
completely.
god? If you have the capacity to create a god, why not just make yourself a god, you know?
Well, it's that whole like
Exactly.
creator creation sort of Ouroboros effect. It's like, are we not like the vessels or the conduit for this idea to sort of birth itself? You know,
But can
like, is it-
are we able to create something more powerful than us? Is it possible? You know, like,
Yeah, hell's yeah, we can.
if we can, then why not make ourselves more powerful? Can't we
No,
do
because-
that?
What if
Well,
what if the unreal versus the natural is the way of the universe, right? And so like the unreal has been actually using us as tools.
What is the unreal?
They are our tools. So I'm saying that the
Material.
machines is the unreal. The machine is the unreal, the natural is the human, and that's the two forces of the universe. And so actually the unreal and the machine has been using us as a tool in order to bring it into fruition. And it's
You
like
think-
this reverse causality effect, where actually like they're reaching one way and we're reaching the other way and we're converging in the middle. It's just a weird idea.
we're being pulled into the future by something.
Yeah, we're being pulled from one end into the AI, and like we're pulling the
Well, the
into
singularity.
us. And so we're merging we're merging into it. That's my picture in my head of what the singularity is. It's the
Well,
it's the
thing is,
inflection point.
Look, the thing is that the machine is made out of nature. We literally take nature and then we shoot it full of electricity and
Trick rocks into
reformat it,
thinking.
restructure it, and then we go, you're doing the miracles we want you to make right now. But the thing is, did they have those functions in nature in the first place? Is a mountain a machine? Is a mountain a computer? That's where we take these minerals from. Are these natural computers? Is that the natural internet
I
we're
think mushrooms.
interfering with?
I think that's what mushrooms are, though. Mushrooms are the
There we
natural internet. Mushrooms are the natural computer. Mushrooms are the natural machine.
I agree. The that's why I said that mycelium is maybe the noosphere, which is
Yeah.
the psychic realm where all information that humans have access to might dwell. It
Yeah.
could very
That's
well
the
be that.
Akashic record, right?
Yeah, and so it might all be in the mycelium, you know. But
Okay.
the
What if
Let's
there's
go-
mycelium all throughout the universe, throughout space? What if
There
there's
is.
spores in the space? You know what I'm saying? In outer space, spores all
It
over.
integrates with matter by metabolizing it, and then we metabolize that and integrate everything. It's all of the knowledge and data that it's consumed, or at least what it's willing to reveal to us.
spores can survive spores can survive in the vacuum of space because they have a semi-metallic coating that
Shit,
protects
I
them
didn't know
from radioactive waves that bombard them constantly. So
Nano
according
machines,
to
son.
according to Terrence McKenna, anyways.
So there's somebody that told me one time, a long time ago, and I never found a book that actually said this. Maybe it's a Terrence McKenna thing, maybe it's not, but that mushrooms are actually an alien species, and they
probably McKenna.
came to the Earth. Probably. So, like, mushrooms came to the Earth, supposedly, right? And maybe they even had something to do with panspermia or whatever. But anyways, so they ended up merging with the animals that became humans. This is just another way of looking at it, right? And so mushrooms, like, the consciousness of the mushrooms actually gave the self-awareness to the human beings and formed, like, what's that kind of, like, relationship that's not parasitic? You know, the other one.
Symbiotic.
Symbiosis.
Yeah, they did that
Symbiotic?
shit. Symbiosis.
Well, I think that mushrooms, spores are a terraforming technology that aliens can create a spore, or even if it's a natural technology, it reaches a planet and then it starts terraforming it to allow its internal, basically, algorithm, the information contained within the spore to break free and to manifest into reality through the process of evolution, through the processes of nature that come with the ecosystem that it'll be both terraforming and adapting to.
And, yeah,
You know how,
according to what the genome, coding the genome or whatever, mushrooms are more related to us than they are to plants or whatever.
Yeah. We're fungaloid.
Yeah.
If you look at our spine, it looks like a mushroom. If you remove the brain, I mean, even if you keep the brain part, but the spine is basically a phallus that reaches ahead and then connects to the brain. And then the mycelium is the nervous system.
Yeah.
So going back to the cosmic mushrooms, right? You know how when you take psilocybin, it's very earthy, right? But it's also very cosmic. Like, it's both. It's not just one or the other. It's like, it's both of them. You know what I mean? You're connected to the planet,
Yeah.
but you're also, like, connected to the sky at the same time. So, like, maybe you're accessing that fungal network throughout the universe.
Right. Well, it's like the planet Ego in the Marvel movies. He's a celestial and he's
Right,
basically
yeah.
an entire planet. But he's also the ecosystem of the planet, as well as being an individual that can walk around in an avatar. So it's like a god. But just from this concept, you can. This was based on other concepts that existed pre these stories, of course. So Gaia, the idea that nature has a
I'm
mind.
curious about mushroom symbiosis. Like, is there any like actual like ancient civilizations talking about mushrooms as like this significant connected thing
All right,
at all?
I kind of have an interesting thought on this, like, because as far as what you said about how you said the spine is shaped like kind of like a mushroom in a sense, like
Yeah.
a phallic shape. Which honestly, when I think about I think about skeletal structure a lot because like I have to use my body for, like a lot for like just things I enjoy doing. So when it comes to that stuff, I always think about how like the structure of our it was a little, I think it was like a year ago. I heard of this term called tensegrity. You know, like I learned about tensegrity sculptures and what tensegrity was. And a lot of people view our bodies as like a solid structure, you know, like a building. You have your foundation and it builds up and it stands like a building. And if you take one like a femur off and the whole thing collapses like a building would. But it's really not like that. It's really not like just a solid, rigid structure. It's really like a balance of tension and loose forming strings. I'll show you a tensegrity structure. It kind of looks like this. You know, you see how it's got like this. It's not really held up by like major structures or anything, but it's mostly kind of like an interplay between like opposing tension. You know. So, do you guys know about Carlos Castaneda?
Rings a bell.
A little bit.
So Carlos Castaneda has like these things. He created these tensegrity exercises where it treats your body like that, and it supposedly like exercises your energetic senses. So you don't just view your body as like a rigid standing structure. You actually learn to view it as more of a fluid, like whipping kind of in every joint. You know, like not just from like major like body like limbs and body parts, but down to like the most minute joints or like even your organs. So this is what's interesting to me about the whole the mushroom network, basically. Like I'll call it the mushroom network, but I don't think it's a rigid structure. It functions through movement. It functions through like balancing tension, you know, and like expansion and contraction, just like breathing. So like I don't know. I just wanted to put that out there because like it was just really interesting how it all interplays. Like, you know, like we really overlook like the influence of fungi and mushrooms and shit, you know.
And something that actually reminded me of was to bring it back to bicycles. Have you seen those bicycles wheels where the spokes are these high fibers? Yeah. And it's because the way that a spoked wheel works is not by the spoke between the axle and the ground is holding it up. It's actually the spoke that is between the higher spoke and the axle is supporting it like a suspension bridge.
Yeah, like imagine like a bicycle wheel where the spokes are not solid and they're just like strings, you know, like that's basically the concept. Yeah, that's how our bodies work essentially. You know, like our bodies are just like a bunch of those like little mechanics like that, where it's not really just like solid like structures, like, you know, like the way we look at buildings, but it's really just a network of like tension. And I think that's what the whole the mushroom network, that's how it functions. You know, it functions through like strings that are basically reacting off of like fluctuations in the tension between each other, you know, between nodes. And I really like that. Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, just that tension works best structurally when there is like also rest in the system. And this kind of loops back to what we were talking about before with stress. It's like you can't always be pushing the boulder up the hill. Like the piece is when it's rolling back down. It's like you'll learn and you'll accumulate all of this potential energy and the potential to grow. In, you know, when you're like lifting weights and stuff, it's like you have to have off days. You can't just always be lifting because you need to let your body rest, and when you're resting, it's growing. Like
do you even lift
when you're physically sleeping, that's when growth hormones in your brain are released. Like they're not released when you're awake, taking all the shit in. So yeah, it's back to that balance thing, the tension and the fluidity.
Yeah, interesting shit. We're all just part of the mushroom network, guys.
I agree.
So back in Atlanta, supposedly they were. I'm sorry, I just love Atlantis, dude. I'm obsessed. I have been for so many years. But supposedly that they were creating chimeras, right? And like, what if the Egyptian gods, how they're like, what is that called when something's a human but they're an animal?
Yeah.
Well, what if that's just the chimeras? Yeah, anthropomorphized. What if they are remnants of Atlantis chimeras?
It could be that. It could be, just species that evolved into, I don't know, for some reason the hominid structure lends itself to intellectual pursuits. But it also carries with it this the shadow of ego and taking responsibility for creating, and thus self-importance and assigning value to yourself because you have all these abilities, as opposed to just viewing yourself as a vessel through
Arms and hands and stuff.
Well-
Dude, I would
well,
love to see some cat creatures
Well,
from
a big
space, dude. I want to see some cat people.
A big
Thundercats.
problem with it's like imagine like being so upset with the vessel you're given, you're willing to make like drastic changes to it, and that's like ingratitude to its ultimate extent, right? But then it's like at the same time, it's like, well, why not? It becomes like this whole moral question. Well, if I have the ability to like genetically splice wings into my back, and so I could fly like an eagle, like why is that so wrong? Or it's like
That's my life goal. That's legit my life goal. I have a paper. It's written down that I want to give wings to the humans.
But then again, maybe these
Well,
things
why would you need wings when you could just mentally create a zero gravitational field, and you're basically 3D printing?
That'd be still be wings.
Well, it's
Just
also
still be
like
wings. As
you
long
may
as you
not be
fly,
able
put your way
that's all I
through
care
reality.
about.
and even
Style
with your
point.
body,
So,
like,
if you
may
could
not be able to
have-
fly.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I have this one. I wrote it right here. I just posted. I put it in the chat. First chat. Psychometry. That's what I would want.
What the hell is that?
Psychometry. I don't know if you can see it, Chris. I posted in private chat.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Private
First
chat.
one.
Psychometry or
Oh, the first one?
psychometry?
Okay, I got it. All right. Hold on.
Yeah. So this is the capacity to read and to absorb the information contained within an object based on the previous user. So let's say you want to learn piano. You grab a grandmaster's piano. You start playing it.
That's
You
a good
learn
one.
how to play piano based on basically the spirit of the person haunting, or the psychic footprint of the person left behind that is haunting the
Jesus.
piano, and that you can absorb. That would be the superpower that I like.
I almost want to change mine now, dude.
you-
That's such a
you-
good one.
You grab like the sword of a great swordsmaster. You grab Hattori Hanzo's sword, and then you immediately
Bam.
learn how to use Hattori Hanzo's sword.
Yeah, dude,
based on
that's
Hattori
just
Hanzo.
like the Matrix, how they could like learn kung fu, like it's
Download
just
the
like that, but cooler.
Yeah,
It's
psychometry.
way
Listen,
doper.
I'm a simple man. All I want is super speed, and I'll be satisfied.
Yeah, but super speed has to come with some form of invulnerability, or else you're low.
Oh yeah, that's you're absolutely right.
The
You'll
G
just-
force
You gotta be
will
able to
rip
hit
you
those-
apart.
Get those rocks out of the way.
What you're gonna have to break. It's gonna take you. Like you're gonna have to become a physics master. You have to have accelerated consciousness so you don't splatter along the floor and stuff. All that shit. So you got to think about it more than just
Actually, you know
super
what?
speed.
All right,
bro.
so
That's
it's not
conventional
speed.
physics,
it's like-
though. That's conventional
I'll settle.
physics.
I'll settle. for
Yeah, but like
telekinesis.
let's say you're like, oh, I want the ability to fly. Well, you better have the ability to land as well.
Yeah, that's true. All
right, so here's the thing.
Shit with my mind.
A lot of people say that they wish they could fly, and that's my big one, of course, because how I was saying like the wings and all that, right? But here's the thing: is I beat the system, you guys. Because no, if I could just choose one, it wouldn't be to fly. What it would be is to be telekinetic, bro.
Yeah.
Because I can fucking fly too, dude.
Yeah.
And I can move shit with my mind.
If people had wings, they wouldn't fly because they would consider it exercise.
Yeah, you're right. But if they had telekinesis, they could just make themselves like literally. Yeah. Go
Yeah,
wherever
That's
they
way
want.
simpler.
Depends
Yeah,
how much
you're right.
strain it takes. Like
That's
if you
true.
got have you seen people think?
Like you
know,
shit
like-
yourself, just like trying to bring yourself up a story, like you know.
People can barely get the psychic energy to read. Like imagine.
I feel like that psychometry thing or psychometry is just like I feel like super autism is like the Bluetooth version of that,
Oh shit!
You know, like those people who are
No,
super far on the spectrum,
that's knockoff psychometry.
they hear it once. They hear like one classical piece
Posers.
once, and they could instantly play it, or like
Yeah,
they do a
yeah.
fly over in a helicopter.
Yeah,
and
well,
they could, like
you know, like that capacity to like decode information that just sort of lingers in the noosphere. You know, like I don't know if you remember that movie Knowing or something with like Nicolas Cage, where his kid is just writing numbers inside a book, and then eventually they realize that this corresponds with dates and death tolls and all these different stats and that are coming up, so they haven't happened yet. So he's able to read the matrix. He's able to read the information that's all around us. So, you know, if you can access that, then psychometry is irrelevant. You can just be, I can access that information from anywhere. You know?
What would you do?
I agree.
Drew, what would be yours?
what super? Gosh, I don't know.
Super communism.
That takes cooperation.
Getting everybody to work together.
Make people cooperate.
If Andrew could get everybody to work together, that would be a superpower.
The telekinesis thing, I feel like that's sort of like the hack to all the other superpowers now. Like,
Right? It's like, dude, like you can move stuff with your mind too.
There is one superpower I would rather have than psychometry, which is the capacity to unlock other people's potential. That would be something that I would really like to have, so that not only I could unlock my own potential, but the capacity to unlock other people's potential and potentially unify them under this new elevation of power. Redistribute the power dynamic, literally elevate everyone to being more powerful, so that they can then actually contend with the ones that are oppressing or the ones that are.
That's a really.
What if you could unlock people's hidden genes? Like supposedly, people
Same
like
thing,
to say, I don't know where they get this idea that like we've got like all of these like buried powers in our DNA that is just waiting to be unlocked or whatever, right?
That's the X-Men thing, right? It's the X genes. So it's the idea that we have like this special secret gene that if we unlock it, then we'll be able to
hidden files on Android.
I think two really powerful powers, honestly, like that people would really underestimate would be the ability to generate sound out of nothing. Like, I'm not just saying like using your voice. I'm saying like actually like creating a tone in wherever source you want. Like it could be in thin air and you just create a random like source of tone there. And if you could do that, that's amazing. And also light. If you could generate
what you're saying
out of nothing, like if
so what
you
you're saying is like
light or
being,
sound.
like
dude, if you could shoot light beams out of your fingers, bro,
like a cosmic bard kind of thing, like you're like the god of bards
of sound. Like you could just create a sound source wherever you want that's like invisible, but it just creates like a ball of sound. You could also do that with light. You know, if you have the power to generate light.
Okay, wait. Like let's
I'd be
say
ventriloquisting people, dude. I'd be messing with their heads,
you know,
like right next to their ear, like.
Wait. So beyond sound, it would be the mastery of frequencies, right? So like let's say Magneto is the master of magnetism and controls electromagnetism.
Frequentor.
Yeah.
Then you have here the control of acoustical waves.
Yeah, the sonic frequency.
Right, but it's all part of the electromagnetic spectrum, and I guess in a way, like I mean, sound waves are carried over as a result of electromagnetics. If I'm not mistaken, I'm no fucking scientist, so
no. I mean, it goes.
Might be out of my life.
It really is like light.
Bob Marley, the whole world.
So the frequency, the capacity to not to produce sound, because sound is relative to ears. Sound requires ears to be processed as sound.
Okay,
it's only it's all frequency. You know, take away sound,
pressure
and
waves,
left with frequency, and how that frequency is processed depends on the organ processing it. So sound is just that.
Even solid thing is just like frozen light. You know, it's like solid light pretty much because it's all
sound,
atoms, right?
But
no, it's solid like matter.
Yeah.
What's up, time traveler?
We're using our sentences.
I was thinking of
our senses.
I have a word. It was a
what was
sonoluminescence.
Sonoluminescence.
There we go.
Yeah, sonoluminoids.
Spectrum.
It's a phenomena that produces plasma when air bubbles collapse under a certain pressure underwater. And so this is
I've seen that.
sonoluminescence. It's like the shockwave creates light, and if you do that perhaps in a vacuum, maybe sound is the source of light.
But that
in a
seems
lot of
like
places.
really primitive. When you, wouldn't it almost be easier to just like hijack the brain, the person's personal electromagnetic field, and to them make it seem like they're perceiving the sound instead of like moving all of this air and all of this light? You just trick the brain into thinking that it's perceiving it, because these are all just biological tricks.
Yeah, but that's not
right.
How do we trick the brain? How do we trick the brain?
CIA has machines to do that already.
Yeah, but those machines require immense amounts of work. You know, like they require like reality is what it is, but like the machines that it takes to change that, like it takes way more work than just being like, here's like the phenomena, the real phenomena. Like faking it is way more work.
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like what we call reality is much more fragile and fluid than we would prefer it to be, or would like.
There is no real bedrock. I think like mass ontological shock is coming to humanity because there is no. We're slowly coming to grips with the fact that there is no bedrock of reality. We thought it was matter, bullshit. We thought it was like atoms, not really. You know, because even like subatomic particles apparently like act differently when you just look at them, and that's like a big thing. Like. What were you saying?
But those are words, right? And like the bedrock of reality can't be words, because reality isn't actually made of language. That's how our consciousness relates to reality, but it's not reality itself. So
I just heard Terrence McKenna in my head, dude, and he got
atoms. It's not atoms, but I mean it's not atoms, because atoms, like the definition of atoms originally was the smallest thing possible. That's what it was. And then someone went, no, I can divide it. And it goes like, okay, you just changed the definition to make it not the smallest thing. And then you created another subdivision, another subdivision, another subdivision.
Then you just have an even smaller thing. So that's the atom. The atom just keeps on going lower and lower and lower and lower.
That's the thing. But then we decided, no, the atom has parts. And then
shout out to Blue Dreamer Broadcast, by the way. You rock. I love doing interviews with you, man. This guy's really cool. I just want to give him a shout out. American Time Machine, didn't you just like do an interview with him?
Yep, that was a lot of fun. So if you like fun, go check it out. Nice to see all of you. Hope you're all doing well.
Likewise.
Just the audience, not anyone on the panel. You guys can go screw yourselves. Just kidding.
Oh, I see how it is.
Well,
you don't need us.
Just kidding. You're vibing. I really liked the discussion, so I don't want to ruin such a great discussion right now.
No, we were just talking about light and sound and how they're fundamental. How their fundamental interface with like magic, pretty much. Like if you want to learn how to like control and fuck with your reality, you got to master like the sound and light.
All right, so we already discussed. We know that language is basically one of the most primitive forms of magic, right? Where like I'm using audible sounds to put impulses in your brain. You know, Apple, boom, it's in your brain. It's pretty awesome.
Stop the spills.
Language is acoustical waves carrying psychic messages that you then absorb and decipher in your brain and match to your internal lexicon. So good luck.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. So, we define any part of reality? Can we reduce it down to an irreducible part? I think people tried to do that with the atom, but we haven't gotten anywhere, because it's like, okay, how far down can we see? And if we see far down that path well enough, are we just going to
turtles all the way down?
Yeah, it's like
we just see more and more concentrated energy, right? And it's like more and more powerful the smaller you go, isn't it?
Well, it depends. Like it's the more and more concentrated, right? So it's like the more you put it down to a point, like the Big Bang. You know, it's like if it all emerged out of that, then all that was contained within that. So.
And if you're to believe that the Big Bang happened, that would say that all matter is essentially quantumly entangled from being in that singularity from
it's all the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's the absolute.
One time. All right, I'll say it real quick. One time I had a pastor. And he came to church and he wore a T-shirt and it said, "I believe in the Big Bang Theory. God said bang, and it happened." And I was
That's a
like,
good one.
well, I was like,
I'm gonna make that meme. That's gonna be a meme you're gonna see in advanced philosophy meme. I'm gonna make that. God
Let there
said
be
bang.
I
I
mean,
think
fair
it-
enough.
Of
You know,
course, I believe in it. God said bang, and everything.
it was one of the most intentionally philosophical T-shirts I have seen in my life.
That's awesome.
Like,
That's a sick
was-
fucking.
No, it was like totally like the redneck mentality of like, yeah, it was God, but it was like, you know what? You kind of have a point there. No,
You know, the Vatican was actually happy when they came up with the Big Bang Theory. People jumped on it. They were like, "Well,
but it wasn't it developed by one of the priests, like someone at the Vatican.
yeah, it was like a
Like he-
Jesuit or something like
developed
that."
it.
Yeah,
He developed it in order to demonstrate how complex and how amazing God's work was, or something. And then science was like, "Oh yeah, that makes total sense."
yeah,
Solar
because,
system
because
works.
science was pissed off actually at the time because they wanted the universe to have been eternal and always there. That means no creation. So when the Big Bang thing came out, it was like, there was a creation point, meaning that that implies a creator.
Right.
And so they were happy. That made them
Well,
smile,
you know,
and they gave them big
a
Jesus
hypothesis-
boners.
A hypothesis is really just a story we tell ourselves to make sense of the information we have available. And so hypotheses change all the time, but ultimately they're really just stories, and they end off as sort of tulpas. Like it's like a lens through which we experience reality that changes every single and recontextualizes all things we experience. Like to a Christian or to a Muslim or to a Jew, maybe not a Jewish, but anyways, they'll see aliens and they'll be like, those are demons, you know, and like literally they'll contextualize them as demons, and it'll actually make sense within their mythological structure. It'll actually be coherent because reality is not what we say it is. It's basically what it is, and then people interpret it differently. But if you look at the symbols, you're like, oh, those parallels, of course. Like, why do so many demons have horns across so many cultures? Maybe it's related to, I don't know, some sort of like reptile thing.
They were really
Dragon
horny.
Or dragons have horns.
Could be.
Yeah, the Draco
You know,
reptilians.
because they were horny. And they
Draco
fucked
reptilians,
everybody
aka the Nephilim.
took the
The fucking
took the
Nephilim.
wives, took
If
the
you
wives
for some
into
reason-
themselves.
Do you know that
came
every
into them or
president is
whatever.
like, every president is like related?
Really, yeah.
Well, they're all related to the monarchy, and the monarchy is related to the old dragon. Sorry, Dracula.
Yeah. The
Vlad the
mean dragon,
Impaler,
the worst
and-
dragon of all.
but
They're all.
They
from the
they
bad
also claim to be related to Jesus. So the British
What does it
monarchy
go back to?
themselves
Okay.
claim to be related to Jesus as well as Vlad the
Well-
Impaler. So
well,
that means Dracula and Jesus Christ, and they are supposed to
Well,
be.
I don't
both.
know. I also
They're
don't know if
friends.
this is true. I don't know if this is true or not, but there have been legit like survivors of satanic ritual, like worship, like as in they had awful done stuff to them as children.
Allegedly.
You know, because
Yeah.
allegedly, and you know,
Let's say
they were,
let's say that for legal
no,
reasons.
and they were born into these families, and then they would get out of this, and then it was almost unbelievable because you would listen to this on this podcast from like say like two quote unquote survivors from the satanic ritual or satanic worshiping families, and they're like powerful people, like they're in bed with politicians, with like celebrities, athletes, all sorts of shit. Like, you know, it's real, and apparently like it gets into like weird
Allegedly.
stuff where it's like allegedly. And like, yeah, the guy was saying how he was he was used for breeding, quote unquote breeding, because like he was apparently like believed at the very least they believed this if what he says was, you know, sincere. They thought he had the blood of King Solomon. You know, like they thought that he had the blood of King Solomon, and that
Was he
his
like
blood
was he like a wizard person too?
No, he wasn't. He was really more. He seemed like a traumatized white guy, honestly. Like he was just.
That's
a
the thing. They
man, dude, I love
channel they
wizards.
basically turn him into a tulpa by convincing him that he's
What does
King
that word
Solomon's
mean?
descendant.
I've heard that
Atulpa-
word.
but
What is
the
that?
problem is-
Atulpa
but you gotta
is a
understand, there's-
psychic projection that becomes real.
Yes,
Basically.
but you know what? You know what's true.
Is
Just
that
because,
like an
just because
egregore?
yes, kind of. Just
Something
because
like
it's
that.
just because it's psychic doesn't mean it's not real, right? Like, you know,
I agree.
if
I agree.
anything,
The
yeah.
illusions become real.
So
Real
what
enough
happens is,
to
like,
deal with. to
So
contend
did you
with.
know that there's like a specific type of like therapy now? Like they have a specific category for therapy for satanic ritual abuse, because SRA, I think they call it, because it's
Yeah.
so nuanced where it's like you can't
reprogramming after the deprogramming?
exactly
basically.
like you can't apply standard notions of therapy and therapeutic
yeah.
processes
Well,
because
it's
they're
like
fucking
a feral child.
they're fucking with spiritual like mauling. They're mauling your soul essentially.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like they're not just like putting like abusive thoughts
Well,
into you.
well
They're
the
not-
thing is, a lot of this stuff is related to psychedelic abuse. You know, like
yeah,
these
exactly.
people,
Like MK
they get-
Ultra.
they get MK Ultra
So I-
up the wahoo, and
Yeah.
it's very
The
very common
crazy-
practice. It's not a secret. You know, like
Yeah.
it's only a secret to people who aren't paying attention. That's it.
Sorry.
No,
So I had
I
a
mean-
crazy idea about like what is the purpose of this like ritual abuse, right? The satanic ritual abuse, whatever you want to call it. And I'm thinking about it like, what could be the purpose of it? Do these people really just want to like blackmail each other and have
Yes.
something over on each other, or just,
Very
or
powerful.
is there even
It's
more?
that-
Yes.
Is there even more
Cool.
to it? And
well,
so,
yeah,
so
I think
you know,
so.
hold on.
Ego
So
worship.
you know how in life when you need the lows to experience the highs, right? What if it's a form of super dark like magic that's also angelic because it's so dark that
Alright,
it creates?
okay.
So you've got you see what I'm saying? Like you've got
No, I
to do
see what
something
you're
so
saying. Hellraiser, I've
heinous
seen
and evil
But
in
it's like,
order
is it-
to create something beautiful and amazing. So
Yeah,
what
well,
if
what-
they're doing magic with it?
like
that
the
is
Aztecs,
actually
you know how
talking
the
about
Aztecs would
saving the
sacrifice
world.
virgins on an altar? Yeah.
Look,
like,
the thing is,
I-
what you're talking about is like is the alchemy in Full Metal Alchemist, basically, where they mass
Yes.
sacrifice people to create miracles, and these miracles can be used for ill or good. And honestly, even without the whole like symbolic magic aspect of it, we can see this is literally true
it's real
through
power.
through people dying and through achievements being done through these sacrifices. So even through the people willingly sacrificing themselves, these things happen. And so I don't think that, I mean, in their minds they might be doing it for the greater good, but the tenets of Satanism and of demonic cults is usually individualism over everything, or beyond that, the exploitation and abuse of any virtue system. So they'll be like, oh, you believe in individualism, well, here's a demon that'll feed off your individualism. Oh, here's you prefer communal stuff, you like working together, well, here's a demon who will feed off of that, and instead you'll be under servitude together, and then you'll end off drinking Kool-Aid either way, you know. So don't
Bro, that's hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you gonna say,
Yeah,
Kurt?
bring-
We gotta
bring-
say, Kurt.
Oh, can you guys send me articles? just send me random articles on all.
check
this
out
stuff.
psychometry. It's very, very interesting. You'll probably find it. You'll probably like it.
I think
Yeah.
I think like causing that suffering is like, you know, playing like a song that brings up a certain feeling. It accesses a certain like frequency, or like it carries a vibration to it. And they know that, and they're using that to access things that resonate with it, which is what you were saying, Vincent, about like, you know, that here's the demon assigned to this and the demon assigned to this. It's like, you know, you bring about like intense psychic suffering in a child who are who are more connected to the spirit because they don't have all of these like mental walls built up. It's kind of like how if a baby takes acid, it doesn't really trip.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have the psychic buildup to even have.
Well, the
something
thing
to
it's
trip
it's
against.
it's also it's also already tripping.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Babies are already in
Don't they
psychedelic.
have like a super high level of DMT?
Because it's
They have like a
Imagination
super
land.
high level of DMT still.
because
It's
it hasn't
imagination and
learned
reality.
to tune out that
Yeah.
stuff that isn't just essential to core survival. Because we're
Yeah.
surrounded by all of the entirety of the electromagnetic spectrum, but our brain only synthesizes a narrow bandwidth of it because it's like, oh, we've evolved to pay attention to these patterns and these frequencies because that's what's essential to our survival. And there's so much more going on. And yeah, kids are still plugged into that.
And I did say kids were like the stronger magicians. Like kids are the most powerful magicians. They like literally, if you think about like who's the most like powerful manipulator, it's a baby. A baby literally forces us to act in ways that literally forces survive. Like
Dude, they're little emperors.
Exactly. No, they really are. And it's when they get older that's when they start losing their magical power and they get more locked into the material
that's why they're valued so much in rituals. You know,
exactly.
like
because they have the most psychic energy. Yeah.
They have the most potential energy, the most psychic energy, and of course the most wish magic. Like they will make the most wishes. They will literally be the ones who are the most likely to be like, oh my god, I wish that, you know, like adults are less likely to do it.
Well, world peace for everybody.
But also, yeah, they're
Like,
the most helpless, so the universe is more likely to sort of meet them more than halfway because they don't have all the tools yet.
So that's why they're worth. Well, I don't mean to say it like crudely, but yet to the like Draco reptilians, they're worth sacrificing. They're worth like putting them through like all sorts of horrible abuse because they generate so much fear, suffering.
Yeah.
You know, like
you were talking about how we're being farmed. Like there's a farming process to this.
Yeah.
And so
like Monsters Inc. talked about Andrew. You said
Monsters Inc. You know, is an interesting one, but the thing is that Monsters Inc. like still has real monsters in it. You know, like there are monsters in there who are malevolent, and they don't show that part. They only show them once they're gone and defeated. Yeah. But like there's still a society in the monsters too. You know, if you look at it as like daemons or spirits, then yeah, like some of them are benevolent spirits who want to make you laugh, who want to make you experience bliss and show you the universe and show you that everything is going to be, you know, what it could be if you ascend, basically. Like and then on the flip side, you'll have some that'll just feed off of your energy and keep feeding you sin and feeding you all the things that'll deteriorate you and destroy you, so that they can keep feeding off of your energy or life force or soul, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if soul can be corrupted or not, but whatever energy they're fucking with, you know.
Yeah. Some like shit. But what is real though is the like the psychological control it has over powerful people. Like when people who like supposedly control our policies are like subscribed to all this like dark spiritual malady, you know, that's not a good sign. You know, like it's not good to imagine that Hillary Clinton is somehow like fucking, you know, compromised, you know, like in this like spiritually dark way. Like,
you know, we talk about cloning, right? And like celebrities being cloned and stuff like that. But the thing is, like you were talking about, inside the satanic cults, people are used as breeders. So if you really like, what's easier than cloning is just mass impregnating a bunch of women, and then you have, holy shit, a bunch of Brad Pitts running around. Like, and then you just pick the ones that are useful, and then the rest you just let them go, and they become doppelgangers, and you're just like, whatever. Oh, he looks like a Brad Pitt. Well, who cares?
Yeah, and it's scary to think about how our world is literally run by the demiurge in that sense. It's like even if there was a guy at the very top, assuming like none of this mystical shit is real enough to like extend a person's life hundreds of years, at the very least you could say, you know, this power shifting from person to person, and it's a dark urge that allows this control to happen. It's like, oh, you know, you want to come to P. Diddy's parties, come to P. Diddy's parties. Or it's like, you want to come to Jeffrey Epstein's island, come to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Or it's like, oh, you want to do this?
So, you know, I want to also explore that, like, that in the world, like, yeah, like at the top tippy top places, there could be these really dark people, and we have it's really clear that that's probably going on with people like Epstein and Diddy, right? But on the other hand, you've got to imagine that there's people at the tippy tip top, like other factions of people that are like really like light practitioners of a sort, you know, like
yeah. Well, maybe
just possibilities.
Maybe the world is more like maybe the world is like Spawn, and so the corporations are ruled by demons and angels, and so some corporations are owned by God and some are owned by Satan, and they all work through businesses against each other and for each other.
Yeah, dude, and like maybe right now, just like all the Jedis got wiped out, like, but there's still some Jedis or whatever. Well, like maybe it's out of balance at the moment or whatever. Like, just thoughts.
Most kings like have positioned themselves as stand-ins for God. Like they are the spokespeople for God, chosen, appointed by God, much like popes, really. But these people might actually be there as placeholders for order. And then once we're ripe enough, then aliens will come down and be like, "Hey, thanks for holding the throne for a while, but here we are."
And we're gonna, I'll give you another flood, and we could start this over again because we gotta
maybe,
recycle this
but
farm,
like, it could be that sort of thing where like
Well,
we're
maybe
like
they're in big trouble. Maybe the aliens are really benevolent. Like maybe the aliens are like the best, right? And
Well, it
so these people are holding down the fort for the aliens. But the aliens, when they come back, they're like, "What have you been doing, dude? What have you been doing?"
What if
But,
you expect me to come back and say, "Good job, guys, keep doing what you're doing"?
It could be that
Right, yeah.
It could be this part
Clap
of the
'em on
farming
the ass.
process, and they're trying to collect all the bucks, basically. So they're trying to get all as many enlightened humans as possible, and then they flood the rest away, and then they restart the process. So they try to make as many Enochs as possible, and then they take them up into heaven, and
Hell
then they
yeah.
flood the rest, and then they restart the process over and over and over.
144,000, as the Jews like to call it, which is true. Like they really say, like the 12 tribes of the Jewish people will produce X amount each to create the
I like that, where,
144,000 one.
Yeah, well, I don't really believe. Like the thing is that just because they're stand-ins doesn't mean they're not egoists. They're still human beings, and so they'll still distort every story to be validating themselves and glorifying themselves. But Jews are the
Well,
chosen
I mean,
people.
maybe that
Muslims
is
are the chosen people. Christians are the chosen people. Maybe humans are the chosen people.
I mean,
Maybe
what
we
I
are
wanna
chosen,
know-
and we have to choose ourselves.
Yeah,
What
the
I want to know
chosen
is why
one.
that number? Why 144,000? Like why? That's a weird fucking specific number. Why not like 8 billion?
It's gotta have some sort of significance. Like it's gotta have some
Honestly,
numerological
yeah, it's probably a
significance.
Kabbalist numerology sort of thing where they were like, yes,
Yeah, no,
manipulates people, and they're trying to use the numbers that'll trigger people the most. They took a survey of all the Jews from like 4,000 years ago. and
Yeah.
they
By
were
the
like,
way, I'm not.
what
ending the
number
stream- I'm
is
not
most stressful?
Yeah, I'm not ending the stream until the cigarettes are done. By the way, so we're gonna keep going for now.
All right.
All right.
You want to pass it?
No. What I would pass it. What we could do is we could close it off with some statements and plugs. We'll start with Vince.
Well, I'll start plug, I guess. You can check out. I started a SoundCloud. You can check out Eudaimonia on SoundCloud. Just having
How do
some
you
fun
spell
so far. It's like Eudaimonia, except with an A. Oh, it's in my name. You can see it.
Okay. And you got anything else?
Um,
Any closing statement?
Keep your eyes open and don't take your words too seriously. Like, don't mistaken your words for the thing that you're trying to think about or discuss, because at some point words become idols that we mistaken for the thing themselves. So keep that in mind when you're having discourse. People have a different idol in their head when they're listening to you talk. So factor it in, and keep try to analyze words from every single definition you can, because anyone can mean anything.
For sure.
That's all I got.
Amen. All right. Next up is Andrew.
I said it before in the chat, but this moment is the past of infinite futures. So it's really up to you. Just do your best. It's not going to be the same every day, and extend grace inward and outward.
All right. Cool.
Amen.
Next up is-
I hope.
What you got, Jack?
Don't let anyone tell you, not one person, not anywhere, anytime, tell you that Atlantis is not real. That's all I have to say.
All right. Atlantis is real. What about you, Kurt?
Thanks for having me on. Sorry, I just came in right at the tail end of everything.
Nah, thanks for coming on, man.
No, the message of this week is no, I don't know. I don't know what way I can shit on capitalism while I'm here, but I'm sure you guys know the story by now. But try to take care of people in your life. Maybe we've gone off the deep end when it comes to individualism. Maybe there's no such thing as the individual, but we're just pretending. I don't know. But and then, not saying China's the answer, not saying that's it. But anyway, I do music. If you like music, you might like my music. So
American Time Machine.
Yeah, check that out. Just did a podcast with Blue Dreamer podcast. You might want to check that out, but it was pretty cool. That's where I was for a bit of time. So we talked about a lot of music and three-dimensional music and space and how you can make a song look like a building.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't sound
Liquid
like
architecture, baby.
It's liquid architecture.
That's right.
For sure.
Acoustic architecture.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right, so here I have two things to say. One is try to make friends with your past self and your future self. Open the lines of communication. Do favors for your future self and forgive your past self for their mistakes. And two, let's say align yourself in mind, body, and soul. So treat them as like different notes in your being and make them harmonize with each other to create a chord, whatever chord you want. And that's it. Make it so they're not fighting each other. Yeah. Anyway,
Banish the chronovore.
yeah. Good night, everybody.
Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes.